like that, individually speaking, from Tyrese Haliburton. So lots of love we're going to give to the Zero coming up here over the course of the afternoon. Eddie Gill is going to join us a little bit later on. We'll talk that up. I know Bowen's going to be here coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. Rakestraw is going to join us. My man Joe Gentry is on deck. Here's the reason why I am at the mic today, Carroll Stadium. You do have the Indy 11 later on tonight, so I am staked out here in the suite level at Carroll Stadium for you this afternoon. But I'm not going to miss out on an opportunity to talk about last night. And I know I kind of joke around about going and restoring order. It always just feels better when my ass is there. I don't know why that it is. If I'm there or Tom Sutton's there, last night I went with Lance Smith of LD Smith Plumbing. It just always feels like things are going to go right for whatever reason when my ass is in the building. And that's what happened last night again. I didn't have any worries. I didn't have any worries prior. I didn't have any worries. And New York is a good team. New York is a talented team. And New York has some serious dog. Whether you want to talk about Brunson, that's a given. You want to talk about Anthony Towns offensively. And even Mikal Bridges. Like, I found myself wondering, why I'd always thought Mikal Bridges was this 3-and-D end-all, be-all. And I got to the point during the game last night where I was going, God, I hope he shoots, man. Pull the trigger on this. You're not worth a crap. And then he buried like 3 or 4 threes down the stretch, and I was thinking maybe it's time to shut up a little bit. Now, that is a team, like them, loathe them, whatever, that is full of absolute dogs. But I never had a doubt in this Pacer team. And this goes back to the offseason. Let's double back to a year ago when we were going through the disappointment of this team being swept out of the postseason by the Boston Celtics. And we brought up commonly something that in sports, and especially when you're on the losing end, you rarely, if ever, bring up because it is viewed as defined, if you will, as excuses. But we talked about how close they were. Now, how connected they were. And in some moments in which it was winning time, if you remember against the Celtics trying to inbound the ball, that immediately comes to the top of your mind, doesn't it? In Boston, well, they didn't seem as connected. But you were thinking at the time that if you give this team time to grow, that it will become that. If you give this team time to stay together, then it will continue to evolve into that. Because it's exactly like Rick Carlisle explained in the post-game presser. It is a team. Exactly what Pascal Siakam talks about all the time. It doesn't matter who scores. Last night, you would not have known Pascal Siakam had 30 points until the end of the game. You look in the box score and you went, oh, hell, he had 30 points. But it is a team effort, and they are only as good as the effort that everybody gives them. Last night, the guy that everybody was down on, I got the question yesterday, I got the question back on Monday regarding Benedict Mathurin. And I told you at some point in this series, he's always going to be important in a game because he is part of a team or a group where they don't have anything like him, and I think that's probably both good and bad at times. And I've told you about watching his teammates try to pick him up or his staff try to coach him up and pick him up because it seemed like when he had been out there, the little run that he had received, that things were in his head just a little bit. That dynamic wasn't right since the Cleveland technical and the ejection. So I had mentioned yesterday, and this goes back to Monday as well, I said it kind of seems like Mathurin has his head up his rear end a little bit right here. And, you see the players reaching out, try to lift him up. You see the coaching staff doing what they can do and try to coach him up to get him out of it. This is a situation where Benedict Mathurin has to pull himself out of it. And you heard Rick Carlisle in that open say he was in back on Monday, I think is what he said, Monday, working out before the game, getting his stuff done, preparing, and you saw Benedict Mathurin when his team needed him because without that effort, things could have been drastically changed. You saw Benedict Mathurin be the Benedict Mathurin that everybody really loves to see, and you saw him lift himself out of that situation that we described. You saw him get himself out of it. You saw him get himself going. He's not letting any other crap bug him. He's going strong, playing unselfish hoop, taking advantage of a situation, getting to the free throw line. Man, that is an awesome way to get a great rhythm, is it not, to get to the free? I mean, hell, ask the Knicks. They went there about 1,000 times, it seemed, last night. But what a great way to get an offensive rhythm when you go to the free throw line. I think Mathurin was there, 11 times last night? Who would have thought going into this game that when most of you were suggesting, hey, he can't play, there's no way he's going to be able to play in this series, and I countered with, well, he's got to be able to play in this series, but he's just got to pull his head out of his rear end. That's all. But he's got to be able to play because he, like all the others, have a level of importance where you have to count on them. At some point, you will count on them. That is a true team concept. And I've argued this before. People have always looked at the NBA, I don't really watch it. I don't like the style of play. And, it's too individualized. Let me tell you this. If anybody ever bought your line of crap about why you don't like the NBA, then you better shut the blank up and watch this team. Because you, Mr. Johnny Fundamental John Wooden Jr., James Naismith, lover of basketball and team basketball and peach baskets and playing in the backyard and running the wide offense and V-cuts and triple threat positions and all that crap we had to learn going through basketball, there is no greater example in the NBA of that team concept that you talk about all the time, collegiately, you talk about all the time, high school-wise. No greater example of that than what you witness with this group. And it's such a good thing. Think about the era in which we're coming off of. And here's what's funny about it. Yeah, I realize the younger generation is known as, loving stars. I mean, hell, you make anybody a star on the internet, on YouTube, on TikTok. Everybody's becoming a star. And I know the younger generation loves star power. But I think that the NBA now with the Pacers are in a unique position. Because much like we saw, you got to have a star. You got to have 2 stars. You got to have 3 stars. You have to have those 3 elite level, or at least 2 elite level players to win a title or to get to the NBA Finals. And now you have a Pacer team. And in fact, if there is something that is close in proximity to this Pacer team, and I'm talking about depth and how much clock guys off the bench going 9, 10, 11 deep, if there is a team that is in the neighborhood of how we view and see the productivity of the Pacers, that is OKC. We'll see if OKC punches their ticket out west in Oklahoma City later on tonight. Up 3-1 in their best of 7 with Minnesota. That's coming up later on tonight. Game 5 for the Pacers. Would it not be pure magic? We thought a year ago was great, didn't we? Go back to the Eastern Conference semifinals with me for a moment. Let's wrangle some memories right here. Game 7, remember the whole cheerleading act? I mean, hell, ESPN formed a pyramid with Stephen A. Smith at the top of it cheering for the Knicks. They had an hour, 90-minute-long pregame show just cheering for the Knicks, and the Stephen A's all love it, I love this, Monday, all that. And then the Pacers went out and boat raced their ass in Game 7. At Madison Square Garden. Yeah, that game that Keyshawn Johnson and his dumb ass forgot about, if you remember, talking about how the Pacers couldn't win at Madison Square Garden because they can't handle the celebrity. They can't handle the Knicks. Just not knowing, not even remembering what took place last year. And we thought that was great, right? But that also came with some layers of, well, if they had this guy, if they had that guy. Think about what the Pacers could do tomorrow night. And then you reference back the Eastern Conference semifinals of this year and what the Pacers did in 5 in Cleveland. And then what they did on the road against the Cavaliers, the heavily favored Cavaliers, winning 3 games on the road. Think about if you do this to the Knicks. This is, to me, an opportunity more to depants the Knicks and move on than even that Game 7 was when you boat raced them. And you won and embarrassed ESPN more than can already be embarrassed most of the time. This is one hell of an opportunity tomorrow night, and you kind of wonder. I reference back the whole Keyshawn Johnson knucklehead remarks about not handling the pressure of Madison Square Garden. I kind of wonder how the Knicks are going to handle it. because their back's not just against the wall 3-1. Their back's against the wall with some massive egos riding along with this massive egotistical fan base right here. It just kind of rolls up and expects the red carpet to be out. And then somebody, I don't know who it is, somebody had to sell Ben Stiller and Bob Dylan, whatever his name is, the actor, front row seats. Somebody had to sell Spike Lee the front row seats. So, this big egotistical fan base is on the verge of taking maybe even more of an ego hit than it did a year ago in the Eastern Conference semifinals. And we thought that was kind of the end-all, be-all. I mean, really, that amounted to the enjoyment we had in watching Reggie Miller bury them in Madison Square Garden a number of times. And then give the choke sign. And then call them out on NBC after that. This has the opportunity to do even more damage. And, man, what I've mentioned to you before, this should be just a precursor. And I have preached to you for how long now? Going back to the offseason. Run this thing back. Run these guys back. They play well together. They get along together. This is not a common thread or a common theme in professional sports, but especially in the NBA. It just doesn't magically occur that you have this type of camaraderie, this type of connection on an NBA team. Normally, you don't. All you have to do as a Pacer fan is to look back how many times that Paul George and Roy Hibbert and George Hill and that group had to go fishing together. I mean, this group doesn't have to go fishing together. You know what their common bond is? Basketball, and it's winning basketball. But I think it's so great that the NBA has the opportunity to turn all of those negatives of it's just about one guy or two guys into, hey, look at what our team sport is, and remember what college basketball is now turned into. College basketball is turned into, your average every year bounty hunter, bring a couple of big names in, whatever big names in the transfer portal, give them a lot of money, and then go out there and try to cobble something together in the next 6 months and see if you can come up with a winning mentality. And most of the teams out there do that. Not all of them do that, but most of them do that. But this is different. This exemplifies what is at the root of everybody's love of basketball, what everybody is really taught of basketball. And that is complementary. And that is teamwork. And the NBA has an opportunity to really put this together and showcase it, much like they have over the years with big twos and big threes and big ones and horses' asses and all that. Now, that's a huge opportunity to make that transition back to a brand of basketball, because we know everybody, decision-making wise, is what? Copycats. Everybody sees something and they want to roll with something. Why not this? Why not try to find this level of cohesion? Why can't this be a measuring stick for others? Why shouldn't this be a measuring stick for others? You think the Cavaliers sit around right now and wonder, we got a lot of talent right here, but maybe if we were a little bit more connected? Think the Bucks may be sitting around thinking about that? How about the Pistons, an up-and-comer right here? We've got a lot of players. Maybe we're thinking about that as well. This could be the mark of the future right here that the Pacers and the NBA are creating. Oh, by the way, also making a first finals appearance in 25 years with that opportunity right now on the doorstep. So as you can see, I have a great deal to talk about, so we will do that with you. Our man Joe Gentry is going to join me coming up on the other side, because there's a lot of stuff going on here at Carroll Stadium later on tonight with the Indy 11. So I am going to work in that. I am going to work in your calls. I'm going to work in more opinions. I'm going to work in your thoughts regarding Tyrese Haliburton, and it is the greatest individual performance I have ever seen live, outside of watching me at Perry Meridian in the mornings when Cam was in high school. No, seriously, I've never seen anything like that last night. It was magnificent. That's like basketball artistry. If you're going to put that up in the Louvre, or for some of you, if you're going to put that up in the Children's Museum in a finger painting, that's what goes in there. That type of team recognizable performance. And I think that stands up versus any playoff performance, basketball or football, we have ever seen around here. with Tyrese Haliburton last night. Discussion on that as well at 239-1070. We'll double back once again because I saw Bob Kravitz mention this. Bob had mentioned today on X that there is no doubt right now that the Simon family, and Stephen Simon, this is a shout out to you, you got to pony up some cash. If you have to go into the luxury layer of tax, a different luxury layer, then you do it. And Bob kind of mentioned the same thing that I had talked about now for the past month. Yeah, I know it's somebody else's money, but I really don't give a damn if it's somebody else's money. You go out and do it. This is why you put things together, and this is why you play the games. For this is why you do it. And when you have it, and especially with the golden era that right now you're on the forefront of, with Pacers Sports and Entertainment, with the Pacers and the Fever, man, don't blank this up. Make sure you take full advantage of it. We'll go over that coming up a little bit later on as well. The Fever on the road in Washington later on tonight. I'm sure I shall mention that. And the Colts back at it. I'm not going to go with blow-by-blow, play after play in these practices that are going on OTAs. But we shall update you a little bit later on as well. Bowen, Eddie Gill, Greg Rakestraw. Joe Gentry is behind me. He's going to join us coming up. And your calls at 239-1070 as the Pacers again on the doorstep of making their first NBA Finals since the year 2000. After last night's win in game number 4, where, yes, I felt compelled to restore a little bit of order at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and we got that done. Hey, by the way, amid all the fans that were there, too, there are a lot of celebrities there anyway. I mean, even with the New York guys. I've never listened to Jelly Roll. You a big Jelly Roll guy at all? I've never listened to that. 50 Cent was in the house. Mellencamp was there. I think I'm slowly kind of evolving into looking like Mellencamp with my hair right here. I'm not trying, but I think that's what's happening. Mellencamp was there. Triple H, to all you wrestling fans like James, probably got a wrestling arousal last night when he found out that Triple H was there, I'm sure. So Triple H was there. McAfee did that great piped up speech there, I believe, around the fourth quarter. It was pretty awesome. It was one hell of a night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and I am happy to help restore order with the Pacers up 3-1. Game 5 coming up tomorrow night. You and me at 239-1070 on the other side. Joe Gentry's also going to join us from Carroll Stadium. The Indy 11 in action coming up later on tonight. The weatherman says it is going to clear off and become partly sunny at some point today. So it's going to be a nice end of day, nice night to hang out at the mic. 239-1070 is the number. The AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live with AAA. My friends Matt and Matt are going to give you an incredible opportunity. I will explain that coming up as well. The Stream, the app, HD Radio, as we're live from Carroll Stadium on a Wednesday with 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
you going to stare all day, or are you going to buy something?
I'm going to stare all day.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
2 and 7/10 seconds to shoot. 47 and 7/10 seconds to play. Baseline inbound with a 7-point lead. Haliburton will make the inbound. Towns will challenge. And Haliburton got it in. Top in for three! Top in for three!
Mark Boyle right there on the call. Obi Toppin had 5 in the game, including that three-pointer. Pacers win 130-121. 30 in the fourth from the blue and gold to close it out nicely. Oh, check that. I'm sorry. 28 in the fourth to close it out. Actually, 33 in the third. But what I really wanted to get to was the 43 spot out of the gate, which I thought was incredibly important to get off to that type of start, even though the Knicks weren't far behind. But as I mentioned, and I'm not going to make too much of this, I'm going to tell it to you like it is. With my eyeballs at a live event, that was the greatest performance in basketball that I've ever seen live from Tyrese Haliburton individually. And I wasn't at the Garden with 8 points in 9 seconds, and I wasn't there when Reggie Miller hit that running three against Michael Jordan, but I was in the building last night, and I have never seen a performance like that. 32, 15, and 12. And before you kind of look that off a little bit, the fact with all that in the turnover category, there's a big goose egg. That floors me. It's flooring. We would turn it over in the pregame layup line. 0. And there's not like that there's, in this case, not a great deal of difficulty in each one of these passes and these attempts that he makes. 0 turnovers. I'm sorry. That game alone, that's postseason MVP worthy for that game alone. That's nuts. That is nuts, and I'm not making too much out of it. That is incredible. All right, 239-1070. Joe Gentry in just a second. James, we got Tony that is waiting. Let Tony jump on here really quick. Hello, Tony.
Hey, JMV. Hey, obviously last night was just an epic game, and I just can't wait for tomorrow night for some knucklehead to start up the overrated chant. But
yeah.
I don't even think they could be that stupid. But anyway,
no, believe me, people can be stupid. I've dealt with a lot of it this morning. There's a lot of stupid out there. Let me tell you, we have endless amounts of stupid. So don't sell yourself short as far as thinking that the stupid's ever going to be over. Yeah.
Well, I can say bring it on then. But I wanted to update you real quick on my $4,100 bet.
Okay.
That I placed 2 months ago. It's up to a 30.91 payoff. So I'm just going to hang on here and see what and ride it because I feel pretty confident in the next 3 games here.
So you're not thinking about taking it and being done with it?
No cash out.
Well done, brother.
No,
keep us updated on that.
Ride.
Yeah, keep it going. There's a lot of confidence in there, and you're being rewarded with this team.
Feel pretty good. Yeah, the only regret I have is I put a little bit of money on the Pacers playing the Nuggets, and that was paying out 126 to 1. But that one obviously the Nuggets let me down.
No, yeah, that was the one in Denver at the end of the season, I guess, is what you're talking about right there. I got you. Tony, I appreciate that, man. Keep us updated.
Hey, go Pacers. Why not?
Yeah, it's Tony right there. Yeah, there's endless amounts of stupid. Like, if stupid was in the right river right here, we'd be flooded out at Carroll Stadium, let me tell you. I had to deal with it this morning. Seriously, like three dudes, one, and you know when they go completely anonymous, you know, what really is going on here. I'm supposed to apologize to the Fever because the Fever sent out a press release that I read and talked about. Seriously. That's the type of dumbass I get to read. But I did have 35 minutes of enjoyment and entertainment at this dumbass's expense, so that is pretty cool. But seriously, we have enough dumbass to last. Mark my words on that one. Carroll Stadium, so the good thing is that the river is not full of stupid right now. Carroll Stadium is dry. Joe Gentry is here to talk about a little Indy 11 activity right here later on tonight.
We're excited to have you guys back out.
I'm excited to be back out. Thank you.
The last time you were here, we're talking basketball.
We were.
Right? Maybe the best point guard on the Indy 11 team.
Yes.
Cam Lindley played on Guerin Catholic's 3A state
Pete.
champion
Did
for
he play
Coach
for
Pete
Pete?
Smith.
Yeah.
Last time you were here, he came up with the assists on the game-winning goal in the 119th minute. So we're hoping to keep that karma rolling tonight.
Did you have the soccer knowledge when you were at Butler, by the way?
I didn't, but I watched Ted Lasso. I watched all 3 seasons.
You know, I've never
religiously.
seen 1 second of Ted Lasso. Is that shocking? Am I missing out on
You're
something?
a busy guy, though. I never thought you'd bring the Louvre reference into the show.
The Louvre. I don't even know if I could spell it. What is it? L-U-V-E? Louvre? No, I've never seen 1 second of Ted Lasso. How many seasons are we in with that?
I think 3.
3.
That's what I watched.
Sudeikis is a big Knicks fan, too, I think, right?
Yeah, I saw him at one of the early games in the series. So I do want to ask you, so it's our first home match tonight in 25 days.
Yeah.
So these 4 cities that our team has been to since the last home match, have you been to Philadelphia, Sacramento?
Philadelphia Freedom, Elton John, Sacramento, the backdrop of American Beauty. Okay.
El Paso,
Salsa,
and Knoxville.
Peyton Manning.
So we're happy to have a home game.
I'm going to associate what immediately comes to mind
fair.
when you think of places like that.
Yep.
That's weird. That I was going to go with either American Beauty backdrop in the film or Peja Stojakovic, and I went with American Beauty.
Tough choice there.
Yeah. Hidu Turkoglu will also apply, I think, right there.
You're bringing back my era, like George McGinnis with the Pacers.
Yeah, I got to do better with Philadelphia Freedom is the first thing. I always love doing that. Give me a city and the first thing that pops into your head. You ever play that game?
No. But that would be fun.
It's a good memory, mind, brain game right there.
I'm going up against the master, though.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot of effort. So what are we going to see here later on tonight, Joe?
Yeah, so we got Women in Sports Night tonight. Our W League team is coming out. If you're not familiar with our women's team, they're pre-professional, so you see a lot of them playing for our Indy 11 Academy, for colleges in the state of Indiana, also around the country and the world. They're going to be out, and they're playing a home match. They play their home matches up at Grand Park, and they play Saturday night at 7. So they're going to be here tonight. We got lots of stuff going on. The gates open at 6. It's a beautiful night to come downtown. Yes. And we're getting ready to kick off our Summer of Soccer presented by Indiana Roof and Restoration, where we've got home games on 5 Saturdays in a row in June and July. So
Oppo of the JMV takeover.
Getting people ready for that, right? You come out and watch the soccer. You experience the takeover. Can't beat it.
Oh, my goodness. See, that's in terms of why I want the Pacers to close on the road tomorrow is because Game 6 would be opposite at home of the JMV takeover. Well, see, it's problematic because if I don't go, that's a problem for everybody right there. But I don't know what I would do at this point. That's a good question. I've not thought about it. But if they don't take care of it tomorrow, there's going to be somewhat of a quandary to get through for Saturday night with the JMV takeover right there.
Well, let's take care of it tomorrow.
Let's take care of it tomorrow.
Then we're good.
We'll take care of stuff out here later on tonight and get people out here, JoJo.
Looking forward to it. A lot of fun. Again, affordable family entertainment. Tickets start at $11.
I love that, too. You got a lot of stuff to do around here, don't you?
It's never a dull moment. Got the Brickyard Battalion shooting off smoke and chanting and drums and instruments and all that.
I shot out a lot of smoke this weekend, too. I know exactly what the battalion's talking about here. Yeah, I got rid of a lot of smoke as well. It was a hell of a time. Did you have a good weekend?
I did, but I wasn't with you there. I hope you had the safety crew.
Yeah, hey, look.
Putting out the fire.
Look at that.
There's our fans. They love you.
The ladies come over and start waving at Joe. And
they're bringing the tables to you.
Here. They're rocking the Tiger Bomb T-shirts. You got any more of those?
Sure.
I love a Tiger.
Sure.
I used to put the Tiger when I was still really fat. I put Tiger Bomb on all the time.
So you need an extra small for that? Is that?
No. I mean, I used it all the time for my knees, and I say this all the time. I did all this stuff for my knees. Oh, my knees hurt. Wah. And I did all this stuff for them, even surgery. And I come to find out the reason why my knees hurt is because I was just too fat. So, I know. That's it. Now, if you just lose some weight, fat ass, and then you'll be okay. So that was just kind of me. But I'm a big fan of Tiger Balm.
That's excellent, and you're going strong.
So you got T-shirts, Tiger Balm T-shirts?
Sure.
You're rocking.
I'll try to get them before 6 o'clock to give.
Please go get it to him, my brother. What else we got tonight?
Yeah, no. So we're excited here, and lots of activities. We got a fun zone for the kids where you can kick soccer balls, with inflatable goals out there. Something for the kids. As I said, our women's players are going to be out there signing autographs.
Yeah.
So you get a chance to see some people play at a really high level with our women's team, and then our guys' team starts at 7. We're looking forward to being back home, climbing up the standings here.
These awesome ladies.
So
they're moving some stuff right there, too.
2 of the Big Ten's finest.
Look at all these dudes just kind of walk by and go, yeah, go ahead and carry that heavy table. We'll walk right by.
Well, you wonder why I'm hanging out with you guys.
Yeah.
Clearly, I know what I'm doing at my advanced age, right? I can't do that stuff.
What are these 3 dudes? You can't see this, guys, and I apologize on the radio, but what are these? So they're just going to let these lovely ladies carry these tables up the stairs?
Well, it's like you bringing the party wherever you go, right? So they'll take the tables and maybe bring the Tiger Balm T-shirts.
Well, I tell you, these ladies are going at it right there, working. Those
Fia and
tables are tough
Sarah,
to
they're
put together.
awesome.
What are their names?
Fia and Sarah.
Fia and Sarah. Can they hear me out there right now?
They probably can't, but
I'll
tell them.
Am I going over the loudspeaker out there?
You're not yet.
Okay, good.
We don't have a 6-second delay here.
I've cussed way too much to be on the loudspeaker out there, I think, right now. Fia and Sierra.
Fia and Sarah.
All right, then. Shout out to Fia and Sarah down there. Joe, you're going to return and tell us a little bit more later on?
Sounds great.
Joe Gentry with the Indy 11. Got a big night out here at Carroll Stadium. We'll get back to that and more of your calls on what was an historic night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse with Tyrese Haliburton. It is the greatest individual performance that my eyeballs have ever seen. I feel like you go all the way back to the film Rudy. This is the most beautiful thing these eyes have ever seen. It's not that dramatic, but it was the best individual performance that my eyeballs have ever seen live like that at a place with what Haliburton did last night. It was incredible. 3-1, and you're right. A JMV takeover in the concourse, maybe at Gainbridge Fieldhouse if there's a Game 6. That may be an alternative right there. Probably not, but something's got to give, which means the Pacers need to close this thing out in 5, much like they did against certainly the Cavs in the Eastern Conference semifinals. We'll get to that. We'll get to my point regarding Steven Simon as well and what must be done moving forward. But we're going to live in the now, live in the moment with you at 239-1070. Kevin Bowen, top of the hour. Eddie Gill, the former NBA guard, is going to join us coming up a little bit later on in the show from Pacers Radio. We're at Carroll Stadium, Indy 11 later on tonight. Fia and Sarah are carrying tables up the stairs, and we sit here on our dead rear ends not helping on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
got a joint?
No, not on me, man.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
The Pacers up early at 13-9. Haliburton drives it to the right side. The Knicks go to sleep, and Haliburton hits a three. They just dropped off of him as though he had never taken a three in his life.
Completely sleep at the wheel, and he had time to lace up those seams, let it go, and that's going to force a timeout here by the Knicks.
It's Mark Boyle, Eddie Gill. Eddie's going to join us later on in the show, the former NBA guard. Pacers radio last night, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Pacers a winner. 3-1, a chance to close out at Madison Square Garden, a place where Keyshawn Johnson said last week the Pacers would never win because they could not handle the celebrity. Conveniently forgetting about Game 7 of a year ago and masterfully being a knucklehead. Keyshawn Johnson, everybody. That's why you listen to this and you don't listen to other jackasses, all right? That's why you do that right here. Carroll Stadium's our site, Indy 11. And Kevin Bowen, top of the hour. I mentioned Eddie Gill coming up after 5. Rakestraw here as well. And Brian is at 239-1070. Hello, Brian. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, JMV?
I could not be better, Brian. I saw the most spectacular individual effort in basketball I have ever seen live and in person last night, and I'm feeling damn good today. It is a all-time sports arousal afternoon for me.
You and me both, brother. And you know what? We probably need to give Paul George the thanks that he's been wanting for being greedy to get out of town, to being able to put this team together. Oklahoma City probably say the same thing as well. But one thing that I was wondering, that call when it went out of bounds and then they went and reviewed it and they called a foul.
Yeah, they went back and found. Yeah, I was in the stands and I didn't hear what they talked about on the television broadcast. But yeah, they went back and found a foul. I think Brunson went to the free throw line right during that moment.
Yeah, that was crazy. I didn't know you could do that. But
hey,
what about me?
Yeah, well, I wanted to get to that, and I'm glad you brought that up, Brian, because you mentioned the Paul George deal. I give you the Malcolm Brogdon deal because that's what has brought Aaron Nesmith here. And where would this team on either end be without what he does? And you look at he's locked up for multi-years down the road at such a reasonable NBA-level price tag. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. He just continues to raise his game, and we have certainly seen in this postseason especially his level of significance. So let's get to that Malcolm Brogdon deal and give credit where credit is due for Aaron Nesmith. And a shout-out to the Celtics, who probably wish, even though they've won some titles and probably feel good about that maybe that was the guy that Brad Stevens, if he had it to do all over again, would want to keep.
Yeah, that's just unbelievable. I don't know if I'm going to have a heart attack through some of these games at home, but I just booked a room. I booked a room for Saturday night downtown just in case. So if you're going to have the takeover, we'll start at the suite and I can get down there and go from there. But we got to give a shout-out to the Pacers. That was just awesome. Yeah. Awesome.
It was. Brian, thank you for the call. I'll look for you coming up on Saturday. We need a Pacer closeout in Game 5 because I cannot do the JMV takeover Oppo Pacers Game 6, and that's twofold. I don't want to because I want to watch, but the other part of it is when I go, they win. And if I'm going Oppo, then I'm not going. I think that presents a bit of a problem. If I were the Pacers and the fan base, I'd want to make sure my ass is in the building. Just saying. Quick one. We'll come back. Kevin Bowen, top of the hour, Carroll Stadium, Indy 11 later on tonight. Thank you to Joe Gentry. We got Eddie Gill. We've got Greg Rakestraw still to come. And 239-1070 is the number, the AAA Membership Lounge, with a brand new deal I'll get to for you as well. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
A drink? Guess not.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Was 15 earlier in the game. And the Pacers with 4:15 to go need a hoop. Near corner, Siakam for three.
That's a big one. But it's all initiated. You get 2 feet in the paint. Nembhard's able to get 2 feet in the paint, kick out and 3 ball.
27 points for Pascal Siakam, under 4 minutes to go.
Hey, speaking of trade situations, how do we feel about now overall Pascal Siakam? And is there anybody out there? I'm not trying to begrudge the name of OG Anunoby, but would anybody out there still rather have Anunoby over Siakam at this point in time with this team, the way this team is? Now, I would mind you that you may be dumb as hell, and maybe you would agree that, yeah, I think I would. But let me smart you up and educate you. This works great, and I've said this all along. When everybody talks about you got to get Miles in the low post, back to the basket, I said, listen, they have a back-to-the-basket player. His name's Pascal Siakam, and I think I looked up this stat whenever I got a bunch of nimrods that were trying to tell me that mid-season, and at that point in time, Siakam was top 8 in low-post touches. You're not going to have two dudes do that. I mean, hell, in Cleveland, they don't do that with Mobley and Allen. And Allen doesn't do anything but rim run. You know, Mobley's facing up. So you don't have enough room to do it. And that is part of the cohesion of this team. Now, somebody else mentioned to me today, you talked about this team and the ball sticking with Siakam. No, I talk about this team when the ball sticks in general. Not with Siakam, but with anybody. I talk about this team when there's too much dribbling going on, because this team is so much better and puts the ultimate pressure on the defense when the ball moves, when the ball flows, because defensively you're always reacting to it. And I don't care how much you practice it, at some point that's going to foobar the works. At some point, one dude's going to go one way at the same time the other dude goes that way, and somebody's going to be wide-ass open. That's what this team is all about. So, of course, it's detrimental when the ball sticks. Doesn't matter who it is. I mean, hell, we saw a great example of that. They scored 43 points in the fourth quarter last night. They scored 42 in the second half in Game 3. What'd you see about that? What stood out to you, especially in the fourth quarter? Way too much dribbling and a lack of a push. That's when this team is at its best. Now, I will up the ante on that a little bit, because this team is absolutely going to be at its best when it has a guy that played on the incredible level that Tyrese Haliburton did last night. That was, as I mentioned at the outset of the show, the greatest individual performance in a postseason game I've ever seen here, with my eyes at the event. And listen, I'm not taking away from Reggie Miller moments. I'm not taking away from any Manning playoff moments. But I'm looking at Tyrese Haliburton last night. That stat line is sick. That stat line is something you can't do if you're playing it in a video game. You don't get those stats in NBA Jam when you're on fire. It was the greatest individual performance that I have ever witnessed live at an event. And I mentioned 32 points, 15 assists, and 12 rebounds. But what you don't highlight here is what is, to me, the most jarring, and that is no turnovers. 0 turnovers. And the difficulty in executing passes in which he throws at such an elite level, to have no turnovers with 15 assists and 32 points, 12 written, that activity, that's incredible. So today what you get, and this is why you don't listen or watch nimrods like Chandler Parsons on this FanDuel piece of crap that he's on with Lou Williams. Quote, if Steph Curry is a superstar, Tyrese Haliburton can't be, because they're not on the same level of fame and global recognition and impact of the game. I mean, blah, 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 jackass, jackass, jackass. All right? We're not talking about global impact with a player. I'm talking about how a player is playing right now. And really, as long as we give the guy recognition because we know the thing we most profoundly understand is a jackass like that doesn't and won't, because they don't prepare, they don't watch, and they don't care. And what they do is they mosey on up to the set, comb their hair, and then do 30 minutes of blah, 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 half-ass talk. And that's what that is. I know we played 5 minutes in the NBA. We all should see. You can see me doing that right now. You can't hear me doing it. Well, you might be able to. Yeah, I played 5 minutes in the NBA. Let's all do that. Great. I know, Lou Williams, 6th man of the year. I mean, hell, Lou Williams said he didn't even watch the Pacers over the regular season. So, really, that part doesn't matter. But that performance last night is absolutely legendary, and that does matter. That does matter. On the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, he also matters. He is Kevin Bowen. Are you staked out over on West 56 right now?
Yes, just leaving, so apologies for getting to you a few minutes later than normal.
That's all right. So quickly, before we get to the Pacers and that legendary performance I was discussing just a moment ago, how did the quarterback matchup look in day one?
They split the reps. Sounds like that's what they will do throughout here this spring. And by split the reps, I mean like actually split during practice. You know, sometimes you see these quarterback competitions, and Richardson will get one day, Jones will get the next. But Shane Steichen wants to divvy them up within practice. So that was the plan. I guess Thurston got the first starting reps for those curious. But again, each of them got 50-50 work with the starters. If you're good charting, I guess, completions and non-completions, Daniel Jones was certainly steadier. Anthony did have a couple of drops. A.D. Mitchell dropped one. Jelani Woods dropped one. Richardson was picked once. Jones, his lone incompletion, probably should have been picked. Samuel Womack dropped it. So, probably, for day one, I guess what you would expect, Jones was steadier. Richardson had definitely some of the bigger completions, but, overall completion percentage not where Daniel Jones was.
This is going to be kind of laughable, isn't it? As we move forward here in the offseason, OTAs and in training camp, we're going to get a lot of laughs out of this, aren't we?
Well, laughs or cries. I mean, depending on.
I think we got to laugh. We got to keep ourselves entertained, so let's laugh.
What you prefer, yeah. There's this thing where I feel like I say this every year during training camp. It's like every caveat probably should be met with like, I'm talking about non-full padded football on May 28th. So,
yeah.
Again, every comment that is made, everything that is written should be, met with probably that caveat. But, we are there to witness something, so I might as well share it. I thought Tyler Warren looked great. Back he caught a whole lot of balls today, so go in that direction. He definitely did. But yeah, for day one, Richardson really good to start, rockier to finish. Daniel Jones pretty steady, maybe not as many of the big plays as Richardson.
It's Kevin Bowen with us, West 56th Street. OTAs going on now. Any no-shows of note today, Kev?
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor working in Florida. So, again, this just to remind everybody, this is still voluntary. The next 2 weeks are voluntary. They will have a mandatory mini camp. Taylor has been here. It's not like he's been away from the team throughout. So Shane Steichen said hopeful they'll get him back to work here. Josh Downs in practice, soft tissue injury. Charvarius Ward was here. They said he had been spending some time with his family, so reintegrating him back to full team work. So he just did the individual period. We already knew, Zaire Franklin and Jalen Carlisle, probably their two starting linebackers, both of them off-season surgeries. They are expected to return at some point in training camp. Franklin had a boot on that left ankle that he had surgery on a few weeks back. I feel like that kind of covers everybody. I don't think any sort of contract situations or anything like that you occasionally will get this time of year.
All right. What was the performance of Tyrese Haliburton to you as far as historically speaking or meaningful last night?
Well, I mean, I thought it was one of the greatest playoff performances a Pacers ever had. I think you probably make a case an NBA player's ever had. I mean, the stat line is ridiculous. There's times where we debate the aggressive nature to Haliburton, and I thought it was arguably one of the more aggressive games he's ever had. I mean, there was no question from the outset that he was attacking switches, he was green lighting himself, and oftentimes it was working. The no turnovers is just such a stupid number. I mean, that of all the numbers, and they're all very impressive, the points, the assists, all of it, the rebounds, but the no turnovers. I mean, this is not I guess to make the quarterback analogy, this is not Gardner Minshew out there. This is a guy that is throwing, risky passes, difficult passes. His vision is wildly impressive. It's probably his greatest attribute amongst, a lot of great attributes. So, he was incredible in a game where, he had kind of called himself out. I thought, honestly, maybe a little bit too much the other night. I'm like, I don't know if I necessarily blame him as much as he blamed himself after that Game 3 loss, but he did. All those stars in the building. Hell, you're still fielding questions about your dad being in the building. And for you to go out there and have one of the greatest games this franchise has ever seen, just an absolutely superstar effort from Haliburton.
He's Kevin Bowe in the morning show. That's with James Boyd and Jeff Rickard. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Pacers Game 5, a chance to close up 3-1 tomorrow night at Madison Square Garden, where Keyshawn Johnson last week said the Pacers could never win because there's too much pressure with celebrities going on there, which is even more laughable than that clown was when he talked about Marvin Harrison getting his catches. So that's how he gets his catches. That's how he gets – remember how that ended for him too? I mean, you thought it couldn't get any more jackass for him. And then decades later, he created another level for himself. That's well done right there, Kev.
Boy, the national media can just be so idiotic at times.
Oh
my! I mean, it's just, yeah. It's unbelievable.
It is such a, I guess, a challenge for them all to try to say something so outrageous and so outlandish and get a bunch of retweets and all this activity on social media that, I mean, you just, how should I put this, Kev? You assify yourself. Is that fair? I mean, you really do. You just turn into an ass. You assify yourself because you want to be aroused by a couple of people retweeting something that you said or talking about something that you said. Honestly, I know that they get paid a lot, but I wouldn't want to assify myself like that.
Well, I mean, hell, bring up that thought, I don't know, in some production meeting and let somebody bring up to you, hey, man, did you forget about Game 7 last year at Madison Square Garden when the Pacers had one of the greatest offensive performances ever on the road at MSG? It's like, I mean, come on.
That dude's not prepping. That's why you say it. That's why you say it in that fashion, because it's thrown at you and you hadn't thought about it until that moment. You didn't prepare for it. That's just not being ready for anything. So it's funny. Anyway, you mentioned Haliburton last night. I did want to ask this because I remember where you were, and this is not me pointing the finger at you, Kev. Don't get me wrong on this, but there were a lot, and you were, I think, on board with Anunoby over Siakam at the time. Would you still be that way now? Because I think what we see is how Siakam is so incredibly important and fits here, age or not, compared to, I think, what you see with Anunoby, albeit a different situation and a different set of circumstances, and still really good. But I think that that would make this Pacer team entirely different and without something that is incredibly necessary. Would you agree?
Yeah, I was definitely wrong on that. Yeah, I called it lukewarm at the time. Yeah, you're exactly right. I said Anunoby would be the better fit, and honestly, it's probably twofold now looking back on it. For one, I flat out underestimated Siakam, and honestly, I probably underestimated him more as a leader. Like, I mean, I always thought, wow, I mean, that's a really gifted scorer, and he's got a throwback game, and style-wise, he should age well, but like. I was really struck by his interaction with Mathurin last night after that late assist to Siakam for him to just fully embrace, being the older brother, being the father, however you want to describe it. And I just thought that was a moment with Mathurin of like, dude, this is what we're saying. You are insanely talented. And for those that missed it, just listen to Siakam postgame. I mean, he kind of uttered something similar. And just to put his arm around him, it just tells you everything you need to know, I think, about how he is as a leader. I go back to his quotes at the end of last year after that Boston series, him emphasizing, hey, not for 1 second can we expect to fall out of bed and be back here in the Eastern Conference Finals. Who's the one spearheading the big, off-season workout at his home? It was Siakam, the one doing that this past off-season. And then the other aspect to it that, I underestimated non-Siakam division is just the growth of Aaron Nesmith. Because to me, the missing ingredient was 3-and-D, was the wing defender, was that aspect, which obviously makes Anunoby, still a really, really good player.
Sure.
And Nesmith's growth in that area is just, it's unbelievable. And the effort he gave last night, like there wasn't one time out there on the floor I thought, oh man, I feel like he's favoring the ankle. As soon as he hit that three right in front of the Pacers bench, and then, he had the dunk, and he's taking a charge at minute, 46 in the game. It's just, he's, provided, I think, a lot more, on both ends of the floor than, I thought whenever that Siakam trade happened, 2 or 3 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
And you know what, on a night when, the individual storylines are certainly Haliburton, probably Mathurin, and then Nesmith. Siakam having 30, and he had that big kind of like tap to Turner there late when Anunoby was right there in position to box him out. I thought that was like a sneaky play. Just another, outstanding night from Siakam, even though it maybe isn't as gaudy as the stat line that he's had. He's not 30, but, he's had some pretty gaudy stat lines here in this series.
Kev, I want to play off of the leadership quality that you talked about after the game last night. I pointed this out going back to Game 3. And, at the time, Mathurin was still in that funk, still in that fog. And I was talking about this on Monday. And on Sunday night, you could see there was a look-ahead pass from Mathurin moment for Siakam for a layup. And you could see Siakam when he was running back. It was a little bit more than kind of the point of the finger in recognition to the passer. It was that level of leadership that you described he gave last night after the game, pointing at Mathurin and trying to lift him up in that moment. See, here's where you go. Here's where you go. You play off of that. That is an extremely good pass. Play off of that positive. And, and Mathurin really didn't get going after that. He kind of went back to being the same old guy we had seen basically since that Cleveland tee, and then have everybody wondering exactly where he was. And I'd said all along, this is something that he needs to pull himself out of. I thought his head was up his rear end, and he needed to do that on his own. He needed to see, I think, that positivity even beyond what Siakam, other teammates, and the coaching staff, they were reinforcing with him leading up to it. And I thought last night that's exactly what was necessary for him. He pulled himself out of it. He got into an offensive rhythm, got to the free throw line 11 times where it is really, to me, a lot easier to get into an offensive rhythm. And I think that you're right to point out the leadership qualities of this team, and especially Siakam, because you can see them trying to do it even in moments that are not as memorable as others like last night.
Yeah, and one thing about him, it's just, and it probably gets him in trouble at times, but he just has no fear. And, that first jumper, that was no hesitation. Think about how many guys going through the funk that he has been in, he has to hear some of this chatter. So many people want him traded, and, he doesn't fit, this and that, blah, blah, all of that. That's been the dominant storyline, it seems like I'm fielding, and I'm sure you are as well, so much from him, and yet, boom, 18-footer, he's not caught up in the moment, he's not nervous, he's not hesitant, boom, it goes in, and, a couple of sessions later, he makes a smart cut, he has the N1, and that's exactly what he can do, and, he provides just such a microwave gift of, 20 points in 12 minutes of all the things. It just seemed like a night where there were so many absurd things for the Pacers. That's on the list as well, and yet I still thought, he had a couple of big-time assists. And he also had, I thought, a key moment on the offensive glass there late to kind of help you ice that game as well. So I think everybody in the, I want to be done with Mathurin camp just frankly needs to chill and realize this is a 22-year-old that is certainly having some immature moments. There's no denying that. But he's getting his first taste of the playoffs. And his minutes, deservedly so, have been, up and down and have been shrinking here as of late. And I get why that. But it doesn't mean you slam the door shut. That doesn't mean you don't put him back in the game. That doesn't mean, those sorts of things, need to be the 1,000%, hey, we're going to bench him like it's whatever, Thomas Bryant in this series or, Jarris Walker. He is such a gifted scorer. And, yeah, there are other areas of the game you'd like to clean up. And it wasn't even perfect for him last night. And yet he still gave you 20 points in 12 minutes. So, big-time growth from him in a playoff moment. And certainly he deserves credit. But, I also think a lot of others in that organization deserve credit, too, and just kind of keeping his mind in a healthy place.
And also, before I move on and close it out with you, you kind of wonder if Brad Stevens looks back now and, wonders about, I wish we had Aaron Nesmith back because of what he has transformed into. And I don't even think the Pacers thought or knew what they had and what he has become and how involved he is, how important he is in the grand scheme of things right here on both ends of the floor. He is just invaluable with this group and their productivity right now. Kevin Bowen is with us. Before I close this out, Karl Anthony Towns had that knee situation. I didn't hear after the game because I was actually there. Might there be any carryover whatsoever? I would expect him to be 100% ready, or at least as close to 100% ready as possible coming up tomorrow night as they try to stave off elimination in game number 5. But what have you heard? What did you see from last night? Because he had a heavy limp, to say the least.
Yeah, he didn't look good at all, I thought. Part of me, I guess I would have said this about Nesmith too. Part of me would be surprised if he's 100%. He was in some serious pain going down on multiple occasions there. I've been at Colts. I don't know if the injury report has come out yet for them tonight. Or for them tomorrow. I assume he's at least listed as questionable. You would think he's going to give it a go, of course, but that's a big man that. At times, I'm even impressed that he's able to, have some of the moves that he's had, and he's certainly, cooked the Pacers quite often off the dribble. But if he is favoring that any way, shape, or form, as if I needed any more confidence in the Pacers getting this done tomorrow night, that will certainly be there. And I thought the Pacers did a nice job at times, doubling him last night, just throwing a little bit of a different wrinkle, a necessary wrinkle at him. But, he was in some pain. I thought, I'll be curious how Anunoby felt after kind of Siakam fell on that foot or ankle late. Josh Hart was favoring things. Like, at some point, I just think the Pacers, sprinting a mile versus the Knicks jogging a mile is going to catch up. And that's the nature when you play this team. And it was, why I picked Pacers in 5 to start this series. I thought the greatest strength for Indiana was probably met with New York's biggest weakness and depth and persistence and pace and all of that. And the Pacers wore their track shoes last night, and the Knicks were able to sprint for a quarter, and then eventually you felt two different teams and frankly, two different shapes.
That's the most physical team in the NBA, by the way, the Indiana Pacers, with the style of play and wearing you down. And give credit where credit is due. This is not like some little junior high team that they're taking out of this capacity. The Knicks are a tough-minded, tough-ass group right there, and they're not going to go away easily. But with the Pacers and what they've done to sprint out to this 3-1 best-of-7 Eastern Conference Finals advantage right here, there's a lot to be said about it. That is impressive because this Knicks group is as tough and as tough-minded a group as you're going to find.
Yeah, and I just think the magnitude of those comebacks. You and I probably talked about it a week ago Wednesday. They're just soul crushing. Like what you did to them in game 1, you just ripped their heart out. And now it's, the Knicks have got to feel like that they got to win 5 of these games. And the longer these series go, I think that puts the Pacers more in a position of success. Look at Brunson the fourth quarter last night. Look at Brunson the game before. I know he made a big bucket late in game 3, but he was like 4 of 17 up until that point. So if you don't get like games 1 and 2 against the Pacers, that's the freshest you're going to be all series. And if you don't get those, then sooner or later, again, that depth, that persistence, that hard play, it's going to be felt, and the Pacers are going to be the ones that are, at the end of the game, being the last one standing, as they, certainly will be here either after tomorrow night or after Game 6.
Oh, man. It's Kevin Bowen right there. The morning show features Kevin Bowen, Jeff Rickard, and James Boyd. Weekday mornings, 7 until 10 a.m. here on The Fan. And I think it's also clear now that I need to go to every home game, right? Is that not true? I mean, I don't even know. Somebody ought to get my ass on a plane to New York City later on tonight, too. Maybe they could close it out, because every game I attend, they win.
I'm just picturing like Stiller grabbing the mic tomorrow night and calling you out like McAfee called out all the New York guys, and there you are courtside with your, beautiful locks and chiseled frame now.
No, I tried to get Chalamet to come take me on one-on-one at Bicentennial Court before the game, and I didn't hear from Bob Dylan Jr. about it. That's unfortunate.
I did hear you talking about that on air. I was absolutely dying when you were saying that.
I'll even let you wear that scarf you wear for a shirt all the time if you want to.
I'm just picturing you go full court with them, and he's just gasping for air, trying to go into commission row.
Trying to shoot jumpers with his sunglasses on too, because that he'd be rocking his sunglasses out there. That'd be great. But yeah, I never heard back. That's unfortunate. And I think Stiller played. And what was that? Long Came Polly. Is that when he got that fat guy's sweaty, hairy back up against his face or something?
I forgot about that.
Yeah, well, he was playing with the late Philip Seymour Hoffman, remember, 2-on-2, and Philip Seymour Hoffman was shooting jumpers off the top of the backboard like he played on the south side of Indianapolis. So yeah.
I was hoping there, honestly. Before the 8:00 tip, you get the TNT crew out there, and you get a little one-on-one broadcast of John and old Timmy going one-on-one.
Oh, it'd have been great out there, man. It would have been great. Hey, thanks for the update out at the Colts complex, and have a great show tomorrow morning, man. I'm sure we'll run into one another here relatively soon. I appreciate you.
You bet, John. Always enjoy it.
Kevin Bowen's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline right there. Yeah, I never heard back from Chalamet, but I tell you, it may work. I'd go tomorrow night. I'd do a quickie. I'd do a quickie there and back. Come back in time for the show tomorrow, or I should say on Friday, if you guys need me to go. I don't want Game 6 because I don't want Game 6 hanging out Oppo with the JMV takeover. Then decisions are really going to have to be made. Carroll Stadium, the Mike, Indy 11 later on tonight. Joe Gentry rejoins in a bit. Eddie Gill, the former NBA guard from Pacers Radio, also on the way. And an announcement from AAA in the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live on what you could be doing that you're going to dig, I promise. That's coming up next.
Haliburton for Indiana, left to right in yellow, down the right side, gliding through the air and laying it in.
Beautiful execution out of the timeout. Gets Tyrese to a strong hand and just lays it over Towns.
It's his third 30-point game of the playoffs. Indiana by 13 halfway through the fourth quarter.
That's Mark Boyle, Eddie Gill. Eddie's going to join us coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. Pacers 3-1 now, the best of 7 with the Knicks. Eastern Conference Finals, Game 5. That is coming up tomorrow night. Pacers go for 43 in the first, and that is one of the major keys we talked about because the Pacers, if you remember, going back to the fourth quarter and the second half in general of game number 3, scored in all 42 points in the second half against the Knicks. 43 in the first quarter, and then they were off and running. 33-point third quarter. I mean, honestly, that was more like it. And the Knicks aren't going to go away easily. Tomorrow night's going to be incredibly tough. But as I mentioned, got to see if the Pacers can't get that thing locked down tomorrow night so we don't have to have a Game 6 where I go opposite with the JMV takeover on B105.7 against the Knicks and the Pacers, because that would stink. That would stink because I'm not going to be there. And that would stink because it'd be me and Josh and Fulton probably listening. So yeah, we gotta have a Game 5 win. All right. I may have to go on autopilot on Saturday night. I don't want to do that either, because the reason why I bring my ass in there is because everybody else in the radio doing music goes on autopilot and half-asses their stuff, and that's not me. It's never going to be me. I give you 100% real radio effort every time out. There's no half-ass in my game. But I'd have to seriously think about it if there's a Game 6 at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So, Pacers, don't do it. And if you need me to hop a flight and head to New York City to go into that basketball-glorified, BO-ridden, old-ass building, then I'm right there for you. I don't have to sit next to John Hamm or Ben Stiller or Sting or Lenny Kravitz. But I'll be there, and that will be enough. 239-1070 is the number. Indy 11 tonight. Carroll Stadium location today. Bill joined me yesterday for a little pregame party at Coach's Downtown, and Bill's here now. Hello, Billy.
Hey, great time yesterday at Coach's, and everything Tommy S. never fails to satisfy. It was a good way to do a pregame, and it's just a great location. I hope a lot of people go. I know a lot of people go there, but it is kind of a focal type of spot. So well done.
Well, I also wanted to ask you this, Billy, while you're here, because you were at Coach's with me and Tommy S. and our friends from Zinc yesterday. But did you go over to Manley's Irish Mutt?
You betcha.
All right. How's Mike Manley and company doing over there? We love them.
Hey, I'll tell you a funny story. When we were sitting at the bar and everything, and they had that view in the stadium of George Hill chugging the rest of his beer. There were three of us that looked at each other and everything, and we chugged ours too. So it was that was my way of connecting with the game. So
let me tell you that I feel compelled, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm at IU Indy right now at Carroll Stadium, and clearly George Hill maybe got some beer chugging skills from in and around this particular area where I sit right there, because that was phenomenal beer chugging right there by George Hill. That was well done last night.
Yeah, that was extremely well done by him, and I just wanted to mention something that I noticed last night. The Knicks were working so hard to keep up with the Pacers when the Pacers started running. When they got down to their defensive end of the floor, they were just totally confused. I mean, they're running down the court with their back to who's ever got the ball, whether it be Haliburton or McConnell, and they don't know where the ball's going. I mean, they got back, okay, we got back to the free throw line. We got our defense set up, and then all of a sudden, one thing I couldn't believe that they let Haliburton have as many open shots as they did. And
Billy, I don't think they expected him to be that offensively aggressive. And I thought about the same thing there last night. And I know Kevin brought that up a moment ago about being maybe the most offensively looking for his own aggressive that we have seen Tyrese Haliburton. I don't think the Knicks looked prepared for it. And then to your point, the reason why guys run by him and they go by him untagged is because defensively, a lot of times you're kind of drawn not to your own guy, but to the most accomplished offensive players out there. And that stands to how team-oriented this Pacer group is. Everybody gets out in the passing lane, and then everybody can finish. Everybody can shoot the three. Everybody can go down. I mean, it's really an amazing group. That's another aspect of the team concept that's so important with this team offensively.
Yeah, it is, and you don't know where it's coming from. You just really don't. And so the getting back on defense, I think is just part of it. You got to be able to close the deal down there on defense, and the Knicks just can't do it. And I want to make one prediction for the game tomorrow night. I think our second unit has been solid, but it hadn't been as dynamic as we're used to seeing. And I think T.J. McConnell and I think Obi Toppin, young man, go back to MSE and get yourself some. I would love to see that happen, and I'm going to be glued to the TV set, and we're gonna be chugging beer at the Mutt.
You got that, Billy? Thank you very much for the call. It was great to see Billy at Coach's Tavern yesterday. I think T.J. McConnell's been outstanding. I do. Off the bench here recently. And I remember going through some of the regular season and then into the postseason where people were saying, well, we got to get rid of TJ, sub out TJ, do this to TJ. And, again, it just kind of shows how stupid people are. Because, again, he is essential personnel. With a team, you have essential personnel. It's not just the star. And I thought with Haliburton that the Knicks relaxed. There's a highlight that James plays back there where both Mark and Eddie on the radio network, talk about Haliburton being wide open and being able to basically analyze the seams before he puts up a three-point jumper that goes down. I just think that his aggressiveness in trying to find his own, I think it surprised the Knicks. I don't think they were ready for that. I think they're kind of ready for more of his jumping up in the air and looking for somebody else, getting everybody else involved, which he clearly did. But he was certainly as aggressive as we've ever seen him getting his own. And I don't think the Knicks at times looked like they were ready for that. Quick one, we'll come back. We got Jerome on hold. We got you coming up after 5. We've got Eddie Gill also on the way. Don't go anywhere. Carroll Stadium, the Mike, Indy 11 later on tonight. Pacer Game 4 recap. We're not going anywhere either. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
There's a kid in my class that got a boner at PE in high school. He was wearing sweatpants. It was really embarrassing, so this song goes out to him.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Brunson brings it to the forecourt. Driving to the baseline, and the pull-up rattles off from Bridges. It's rebounded by Haliburton. Pacers on the go, into the far corner, and Neesmith right in front of his own bench. A catch-and-shoot three. He is over 70% from three-point range in this series.
That is Mark Boyle and Eddie Gill. We'll hear from Eddie coming up at the top of the hour. Pacers radio. Game 5 tomorrow night. Pacers 3-1, best of 7. That is the majority of the conversation today. We're at the Mike Carroll Stadium, Indy 11. Later on tonight, Joe Gentry rejoins. I asked the question because I'm assuming what's going on out here before me on the pitch is a little bit, is this half-pitch soccer? Like, half-court basketball, which I think is a waste of time. But they're playing – well, no, I'm sorry. They have another goal down there. There are 2 goals. I didn't know if – because I saw them a little bit earlier playing on one end, and then there was a shot taken, and then the other team got it and went back out and kind of reset it out front. I didn't know if there was anything known as half-pitch, which I'll be careful, half-pitch soccer play. The other thing – has there any soccer fans out there, has any soccer player ever worn a hat? Do we know? Huh? Goalkeepers? Now, I know that they wear a scarf, not a hat, though. No, a hat, a baseball cap. No, they don't. Sometimes for the sun. All right, I need to answer that question. John Griffin is here and says sometimes to make sure they're shaded from the sun, the goalkeeper will wear a hat. That is something I have never seen a soccer player wear a hat. Now, one of the other reasons why I bring this up, the late, great Slick Leonard, it was great to see Nancy Leonard at the game last night, too. Remember with Elfrick, what's his name? Elfrick, I can't think of his last name right now. Played for the Magic, then played for the Mad Ants, I think, a year ago. Remember he had his hair in such a way. And Slick was on the broadcast with Mark, and Slick asked Elfrick Payton. Elfrick Payton is the player. Slick asked Mark why there was a guy out there wearing a hat. It was actually his hair, which made for some awesome dialogue. But there's a kid out here playing soccer in a hat, and I don't think I've ever seen anybody play soccer in a hat before. It's things I'm thinking about while we're at Carroll Stadium. All right, 239-1070. Is Brandon on hold for us right now, James? You want to do that before the top of the hour. Hello, Brandon. How are you?
Well, actually, Brandon dropped. We do have Jerome on the line, though.
Jerome is in the house. Hello, Jerome.
Hey, my friend. How you doing today, man?
Hey, Jerome, do you carry around a mirror with your best friend?
No,
and
I
then,
have one.
like Jerome with Morris Day of the Time?
Nah, man. When you cool like me, you don't need a mirror.
No, and let me see. Listen, though. Got to understand this. Jerome was cooler than Morris Day because you don't carry a mirror and dance step for step like that and then show it and continue to. I mean, I always thought Jerome was more important than Morris Day on the time.
Absolutely.
I did. Yes. So, Jerome, it's your floor. Go ahead.
Hey, I got 4 things I want to complain about. Number 1, if we win against the Knicks, I'm with you. The Siakam trade trumps the David West trade. Another thing I have a problem with is all the pro media for the Knicks. When we finally beat the Knicks, do I have to still watch that funky little commercial with them throwing the little hat to DiVincenzo, the little 4 Villanova guys? Can they take that off?
Yeah, you will. Yeah, because that's a big sponsor. That thing can play forever right there, yes. Yeah, the hat, the Villanova guys in the hat with DiVincenzo, yes.
But they play that 4 times every broadcast. My other concern is
they do.
ESPN, every last one of them, when we beat the Knicks, needs to wear a Pacers jersey. I'm just tired of the slight. I mean, all I hear is that the Pacers beat hurt teams. So let me get this straight. We lost to Boston, got swept to a man last year. Haliburton played 1 game. We didn't complain about that. As far as I'm concerned right now, if Isaiah Jackson was playing, this series would have been over with. We're not complaining. The Knicks are healthy right now. They got 5 players out there healthy, right? So what's the problem?
No, I agree. We'll see if Karl-Anthony Towns had that knee situation. But no, listen, hey, Jerome, don't worry about it. There is nothing more to complain about. And I think if we end up having complaints, it's going to be an unfortunate set of circumstances and stuff we don't want to think about. So, no. If I were you, I wouldn't complain. And if they punch that ticket with one more win, Jerome, you got to understand that the criticism will be lobbed endlessly about nobody's watching and nobody cares. But what you're going to have, and Jerome, thank you for the call, what you're going to have if things hold out the way that they are, you're going to have what should be the NBA future, what they should gravitate to. And that is team-oriented basketball that they haven't had with stars, but with strong, deep teams that they haven't had forever. It is a change of the guard if you get the Pacers and OKC in the 2025 NBA Finals. Quick break. We'll come back. Carroll Stadium, I'm here with you. I've got more information for you. I've got that AAA thing with IndyCar involved and the two-seater. You guys will want to hear that. And John Griffin tells me in a picture here that I can't quite see that there is somebody in goal wearing a hat in soccer. I've just never seen anybody in soccer ever wear a hat. Just out of curiosity. Indy 11 tonight. Eddie Gill on the other side. You stick and stay. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Give me my theme music.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
They're within 76 seconds to play in the third. Haliburton will control, bringing it across the timeline through the logo at center court. Off the high middle screen from Mathurin. He gives it to Mathurin up top. Mathurin moving to his left, picks up the dribble, looks for help, and gives it to Toppin. 8 seconds to shoot. Near corner McConnell, back to Toppin, right edge, on top to Haliburton. Here comes a long three.
It's Mark Boyle right there, along with Eddie Gill, who's going to join us in a second. Pacers radio tomorrow night, Game 5, Madison Square Garden. I did want to get to this live from Carroll Stadium. Greg Rakestraw, bottom of the hour, will be here. The Indy 11 later on tonight. I have not seen anything as of yet for game number 4 last night, but Sunday night's Game 3 at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, according to some television service here. I don't know what the hell this is, but Game 3 of the East Finals between the Knicks and the Pacers on TNT averaged 7.09 million viewers. And it is suggested that makes it the most viewed East Finals Game 3 since 2015. That was the Cavaliers and the Hawks back in 2015. So about 10 years with the Knicks and the Pacers back on Sunday night in Game 3. I haven't seen anything as far as details on game number 4 last night. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, he doesn't really care about what you see on TV. He wants to listen to the radio, as we all did last night as well. The Pacers Radio Network, the former NBA guard. He is Eddie Gill with us. I'd mentioned this. There are great individual performances, clutch performances in Pacers history, and they're all well documented, and they're all basically about 31 or 31s in a clip. But I had never seen with my own eyeballs, being in the place last night, Eddie, a better playoff performance anywhere around here. And I'm talking about basketball, I'm talking about football, a better individual performance with my own eyeballs as I saw with Tyrese Haliburton last night.
Yeah, I would agree. And I'm sure there's some arguments to be made about this performance or that one. But it's going to match up pretty competitively with whatever you throw out there. And I was just really impressed with Tyrese's ability to just be aggressive. I always talk about, and if you listen on air, the numbers speak for themselves. They're historic numbers, which is fine and well, and they are that. And he's put up a number of those types of performances. But for me, it's more about always being a threat to attack and not just shooting the three-point shots and step backs and those types of things, which he's plenty capable of, and we've seen him do it. But when he is attacking, getting 2 feet in the paint, he just causes so many different problems, and his decision-making is just incredible. The assist-to-turnover ratio that he has is also historic numbers. But, man, that performance was so good, and everyone just followed suit. And just as a whole, this team has been, when they drop a game, they bounce back in a major way, and they did it again last night.
Great segue, by the way, with Eddie Gill on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline to what I wanted to bring up, with the bounce back in mind certainly as well. But with Haliburton, it felt to me like watching this that the Knicks were a little bit taken by surprise with his level of shot-hunting aggression that Haliburton had last night. Did you gather that at all while calling the game and describing the game? Because there's one point, and you and Mark have a great call, where he's basically shooting a 3, nobody's near him, and he's sizing up the basketball and, reading the logos and, counting, all the threads and the seams in it. I thought the Knicks defensively looked surprised that he was that looking for his aggressive last night. Did you?
Yeah, and in some cases, they look to be they're just not on the same page defensively. Whether it's their coverage, whether it's getting back in transition. Their defensive transition game has been awful in different segments of it throughout the series, where they're just not getting back. And Tyrese Haliburton, as great as he is at getting his own assists, he's equally as great in terms of advancing the basketball up the floor when he has guys like Neesmith running or Nimhard or Toppins in the game. He'll advance to them and just trust them to make the right play, whether it's go get on the rim or make another play for a teammate. So and it's even against made baskets, and it's just so their defensive transition game has been bad. And then he and Turner have just mastered this ball screen situation over the last couple seasons. And that particular play you're talking about right in front of their bench, you're right. I mean, he had all day and night to do whatever he wanted. And oftentimes those are the ones that are most difficult, but I don't think that thing hit the rim when it came through the net.
Here's my theory on what you just talked about, the Knicks being exploited in defensive transition. I think that they tag names and not bodies, or they tag names. They look for guys. They go over in the pregame, all right, hey, this guy's a threat from here, that's guy a threat from here. And I don't think they consider that everybody in this team-oriented break when they're pushing the basketball, the Pacers, I think they tag names and not guys, and I think that leads to a great deal of their transitional confusion.
Yeah, I mean, there's threats all over the floor. The Pacers have been assembled a team with very good players at every position. So yeah, I mean, sometimes that is the case. They're like, hey, this is my guy. This is who I'm matched up with. So I'm gonna just go run to that guy. When meanwhile, there's a guy that's right next to him that they're letting him run by him, and he's able to run free for layups or run to the 3-point line for wide open 3-point shots. But the other thing is just the fundamentals of just transition offensive basketball the Pacers have also mastered in terms of the spacing on the floor, who's running in which lane, and if you see a guy in that lane, you're in another, but it's like just the very basic fundamentals of the game that you're taught, or you should be taught, depending on who your coach is, in elementary and going on through middle school and high school. Those types of things they've absolutely mastered. And when you do those at a high level, it's amazing to see great things happen for you.
You played the guard position at the NBA level. How did you guys go through preparing with breaks in mind? Because you're right. I mean, you learn from the gate if you're coached well, where to go and how to run lanes. But the Pacers seemingly do that, but there are also like differences in the way that they take it, how many dribbles that they have, where they end up passing the basketball, where they don't pass the basketball. How much did you practice that, and how much goes into what the Pacers do in preparation to look as cohesive as they do on most fast breaks?
Yeah, I mean that's one of the biggest ones, and you just rep those types of scenarios when you get out and you run the floor and you have proper spacing. You obviously understand who's the point and that kind of thing. But in today's game, now you have more ball handlers out on the floor. You got a ball handler just about at every position. At least 4 out of the 5 positions in today's game, you have guys who can handle the ball. So you're not as concerned with, hey, where's my point guard? Even though that guy is probably getting the ball the majority of the time, but it's not as big of a priority as it once was. But and when that happens, you just push it. And then if you have, and in today's game also, you have so many 3-point shooters out on the floor, so it makes it even more difficult because you're taught is from a defensive standpoint, you flood the paint and build out from there. In terms of if you're trying to defend any sort of transition game or fast break, you protect the rim first and then you get out to 3-point shooters. But now you have so many 3-point shooters. Oftentimes you see in today's game, these guys are running 3-on-2 fast breaks, and at least one of the 2 guys on the wing is running to the 3-point line. I think Neesmith hit one just like that in front of the Pacers bench last night. So it's just incredibly difficult to guard.
Yeah, those days when are over when you had like 2 guys that could shoot. Now,
forget about it.
Now everybody, every. I mean, if you're down one guy at that position, he better damn straight be, a threat. For example, like we'd seen some of this series with Mitchell Robinson, and he wasn't. What would that come down to? Last night, was it just what they needed compared to what he was going to be able to give? Are there some games and some moments for the Knicks to where his usefulness is just not going to be there for what they have to overcome?
Well, I mean, I think they've gotten what they're going to get out of him at this point, and I give Turner a ton of credit for what he's been able to do. There was one stretch, maybe a 2 or 3 minute stretch, where Mitchell Robinson came away with like 3 or 4 offensive rebounds, and that's where he created his real impact in the game. But other than that, I think Turner has done a really good job of keeping him off the glass, and I even mentioned this on there also. He ends the game with 3 or 4 rebounds or whatever he did, but oftentimes he's just face guarding him, pushing him out of bounds.
Right.
And then you see Haliburton come away with 12 rebounds. Not to say that Tyrese wasn't working to get those rebounds, but I'm saying that oftentimes when you have someone that good at getting offensive rebounds, the scouting report is, hey, your guy does not get it, and I don't care if you do get it or don't get it, but he can't get it. Right, so you just push that guy out of the area, and that's when you see guards collapse and they're able to get their rebounding numbers up.
I heard you say that last night, and as a firm Miles supporter for the past 8+ years, I thought that is accurate because I have seen it. Even though his numbers may not reflect it, he has been highly concentrating on trying to, once the shot goes up, immediately put a body on Robinson, and here's what makes it even more difficult is that he is the rim protector. So oftentimes he has to make a snap judgment or a snap decision whether to try to affect the shot that's being taken or go down there and make sure there's not a weak side, easy putback, rebound, dunk that he doesn't get a body on Robinson.
That's exactly right. I made the same comment as well. It's such a difficult task for him. He's still, I think, into the game with 3 block shots anyway, but because a guy like Mitchell Robinson, he's out there. His sole purpose is to go get offensive rebounds, right? He's better defender in certain cases than Towns is, so he does some things defensively also. But offensively, his sole purpose is occasionally get a lob dunk, but primarily is to get offensive rebounds. So when you have a guy like that, he's wedging himself in the paint. He's carving out space before a shot even goes up half the time. So when Turner leaves to go block a shot or contend or help, that guy is on the backside. Now you need collapses on the backside to get him out of the paint. But that's when he does come up with his offensive rebounds. But if Turner does not leave him, his sole purpose is to get him out of the lane and let somebody else come get the rebound.
What was more about Mathurin's game? That transformational performance last night where it was going so bad for him, where he wasn't getting massive amounts of clock any longer, and they were going a different direction. I thought that he took more of his time, and then I thought he got himself to the free throw line and established an offensive rhythm by virtue of that. What say you?
Yeah, I think the previous couple games, and this is very uncharacteristic of him, is I thought he came out a little bit hesitant, a little bit unsure of himself, and a little bit timid. And when that happens, oftentimes mistakes happen. You don't get shots don't go in for you. You make errors on defense. I'm always like, hey, make an aggressive mistake. I don't care, whatever it is, you're trying to go for it, right? And then we can pull the reins back and correct those. I thought that's the way he had been playing for the last, handful of games or whatever. But last night, the very first offensive possession, they set a ball screen for him up top. He gets to his right hand. They don't, defenders, the big is in a drop coverage, so essentially guarding no one. He gets to a mid-range pull-up, knocks it down, and he just was killing ever since from that point on, doing a great job of attacking the rim. He and T.J. McConnell have a great chemistry where McConnell's working that baseline. Mathurin is cutting down the middle of the lane, oftentimes able to receive a pass and finish. I mean, he got to the free throw line. He knocked down his free throws. So it was a great bounce-back performance. And the way this team is trending right now, they still got work to do. But if they are able to advance, you're going to need everything you have to go on and try to contend for a championship. And Mathurin has been a great piece for them off the bench.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Eddie Gills from the radio network. He got Game 5 coming from Madison Square Garden tomorrow night. He and Mark Boyle, Pat Boylan's got the pregame show for you as well. Eddie's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Did you expect Aaron Nesmith to look as good, as active as Strum? Because it looked like he wasn't dealing with anything after rolling that ankle. Or is that just now the transition, the legendary transition he is making into being really both sides of the floor, just an absolute dog?
Well, he is certainly that. It's funny to see like guys like him, Nembhard, Shepard, they earned their opportunity to play and get extensive minutes by what they did on the defensive floor. And now you're seeing Nesmith's offensive game flourish. You see Nembhard's offensive game flourish, and I think Ben Shepherd in time will also flourish offensively. But they earned it first and foremost on the defensive end. But in terms of ill effects from that ankle, I saw none. I mean, I was a little bit concerned with it. I mean, he came back and he looked good after he hurt it in game, what was that, game 3? He came back and finished that game, and he looks pretty good. But sometimes with ankles, and I've had them myself, you can finish that game, but it's when it gets you is the next day. You wake up the next morning and that thing explodes on you. But I'm sure Josh Corbeil, the head athletic trainer, and the whole staff, he's probably getting round-the-clock treatment and everything. So I give those guys a ton of credit for getting him right and getting him ready because he came out and looked spry. Shot making was still there. It seemed, I can't remember the last time he missed a shot, seemed like. And when he got out on the break, he got that dunk, and it was like, and the harassing defense he has on Brunson. I mean, what a task! He's looked amazing throughout the series.
It's Eddie Gill, who's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. As a former player, because I mean, Brunson, gets some calls. Went to the free throw line 12 times. I don't know at the end of it all, how that compares to the Pacers. But as a player, when you feel as if somebody is getting the benefit of the doubt on calls like that, how difficult is it, especially in an emotional moment in a game of that magnitude, to deal with it, not think about it, and play basketball? Is it difficult at all, or do you have to fight that feeling a little bit?
I mean, it's incredibly difficult when you think about the amount of energy that's being put in to try to slow that guy down. And then when you feel like you played it solid and he still draws the foul, it's incredibly frustrating, but you have got to stay in it from a mental standpoint and resist the temptation to let your emotions take over, and you either get a technical or now you can't focus because you're so concerned with this whistle blowing. You can't go get on to the next play and do what you got to do to be effective there. So it's definitely difficult. But I also think you come into the game with a proper amount of respect for the opponent. Like, that guy is one of the best players in the game, period. And he does a really good job of cutting defensive angles off. That's so you respect that, but that doesn't mean you don't go out there and challenge the heck out of him and make him work for every single thing. But you respect, his skill set and what he's able to do, but you want to, again, try to meet that and match his will, if not exceed. And the whistle on a given play doesn't go your way. You can't, emotions can't win in that moment.
We thought that it was going to be difficult for them to win a third road game and close it out in Cleveland, and they did it. The level of difficulty tomorrow night is going to be for the Pacers to do something as similar as they did in the East semifinals.
Yeah, and maybe even to another level, because that team, they lost to the Pacers last season here at a Game 7. Obviously, last season they were definitely undermanned to a probably significant degree. They would argue, and I would argue as well for them. But obviously, different season, different teams. I think the Pacers are significantly better this time around. But they don't want to go away, especially in that building again at full strength. Now, having said that, I'm not sure what the deal is with Towns. We'll see what happens with that. I haven't heard anything yet. But having said that, it's a tough-minded group. This strong-willed group. They don't want to go away in this particular game. So it'll be really difficult to get it done. But I think the Pacers have a tremendous opportunity.
Yeah, no doubt about that, too. Hey, the other thing I want to ask you, and I guess it remains to be seen to what level we're going, because OKC has the opportunity to close tonight at home. Pacers have the opportunity to close tomorrow night on the road at Madison Square Garden. Do you think with these two teams, this could mark a very interesting transition from, the single and double and sometimes triple elite-level superstars and then mixing in players here and there to a more balanced team where I realize Gilgeous-Alexander is the MVP. I mean, he's a superstar, don't get me wrong, and everybody always has, the conversations. Whether or not Tyrese Haliburton is one, I think we understand exactly how meaningful he is and what he is with this team in mind. But are we going to see a transition of the NBA to more of a team concept? Because honestly, Eddie, this has been lost collegiately. This has been lost in a lot of high schools with ISOs and individual players and focus on that. This is something I think where the NBA could regain footing in the level of team concepts with two really good teams that just happen to be small market that have a great deal of depth.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a trend that, if you're smart, you want to get behind. And I think it's defensive led first. Oklahoma City has been one of the best defensive teams in the league throughout the entire season, or over the last couple seasons, actually. And obviously, SGA, they're led by him in terms of his skill set, which is incredible. And Jalen Williams, and they complement those guys with really good players around them. But again, they're all focused on the defensive end, and I think that's definitely where the Pacers turned the corner, is where they started to take that end of the floor incredibly serious at each position. So they do surround all your quote unquote stars with really good players as well, giving all those guys free latitude to go and play their games without real restrictions. So certainly it's something that other teams can get behind when you see this level of success from these two teams.
No, I like it too. I tell people all the time, you used to hear in terms of the NBA, people would say, yeah, you know what, it's really not my bag because it's more about individuals than it is team. And I gravitate to the college game, to the high school game, and it's almost like it often flips now to where you have more of an individual style collegiately and in high school, and we see the Pacers and OKC playing the team style that everybody talks about, how they've grown up and been coached to play basketball to a person. And kind of interesting to see the transition with these two teams, if indeed they end up meeting in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I agree. But having said that, even when people come with the argument like, the collegiate game is more team oriented or the high school game is more team oriented. But when I look at the skill set of the NBA right now, I'm mesmerized by and not only, I feel like the guard play has always been incredibly skilled players. But now when you just look throughout the entire roster from position point all the way through the quote unquote 5-man, whatever that is in today's game, I'm thoroughly impressed with the skill. So sign me up with being able to just enjoy that skill set from each and every guy out there right now.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking about the very same thing last night, and I was watching Miles McBride on the other end, and I'm thinking how everybody thinks he's this little tiny dude, and then how he would stuff my ass in a trash can. You know what I mean? He would say, all right, I'm going to kick the entire crap out of you right now and stuff you in that trash can. And then everybody watching him thinks he's this little pipsqueak of a dude. And that speaks to what you're talking about with his level of athleticism and skill in that game.
No, man. The guys, again, whenever, the common fan, says, or even I even hear some former players say it sometimes, and I'm like, dude, you played in this level. You know how good guys are. Right. But essentially, the 12th and 13th man who is just waiting on opportunity, that guy is really good. That guy is really good. And we've even seen it, actually. The Pacers have faltered through. There were a handful of games throughout the season where, they played against a team and they were down 3 or 4 guys, and next thing you know, they march a guy out there who hadn't played in 20 games, and he goes for 25, or so. These guys are really good. They spend a lot of time at it, and I love watching it and being a part of it.
Me too. You mentioned mesmerizing, and the bigger they are, and as skilled as they are, and trying to stay in bounds. I don't even know how they stay in bounds, like in the corners and on the sidelines right there. It's because how are you? Because a lot of these guys, they're so big that their foot's going to be out of bounds or over the 3-point line. So it's incredible stuff. I absolutely love it. All right, see what happens coming up in Madison Square Garden tomorrow night, man. Great call, you and Mark, and certainly a great job with Pat last night, and we'll be listening coming up tomorrow night for game number 5, Eddie. I appreciate you.
No, much appreciated, guys. Look forward to doing it again.
Hey, quickly, though, do you have any celebrity stories? Do you have any celebrity stories that you could share? Because I know there's some in the building last night. There are going to be some coming up tomorrow night. Any good celebrity stories you had an encounter with at a game?
Well, not if you want to call going out to dinner with Jermaine and his wife and my wife, if you want to call that a good celebrity story last night.
Was that last night?
Yeah, last night after the game,
cool.
we all got together and had a little get together for old time's sake.
Good
but other
man.
than that, I'll try to come with some more juice for you next time.
All right, man. Well, if I remember until I sign off with you and then bring you back here for a second. So my bad right there. Hey, we'll be listening tomorrow night, buddy. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
It's Eddie Gill on the Andy Moore Automotive Group Power Line. A lot of stuff right there. Put that up on a podcast at 1075thefan.com. Joe Gentry rejoins. Greg Rakestraw coming up too. Carroll Stadium. Hey, it is clearing off. Our chief meteorologist, Joe Gentry, said it was going to become partly sunny, and by God, that is an accurate weather forecast from Joe, who joins us on the other side. Hey, by the way, too, I also will have some information regarding our friends at AAA and what they're going to have for you as well coming up. This is really cool in terms of how you can get into an IndyCar two-seater, just like Tom Brady. We'll do that coming up on the other side. Stay right there. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
If you leave me now, you'll take away the biggest part of me.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Yeah, Eddie Gill a little bit earlier, Kevin Bowen also earlier. Joe Gentry rejoins. We're at the Mike, a.k.a. Carroll Stadium, Indy 11 later on tonight. Back in studio tomorrow. I shall explain coming up in a minute your opportunity to win a two-seater ride with AAA. That info also on the way. But Greg Rakestraw, who is the voice of the Indy 11, joins us now. Got a big night on hand this evening, don't you, buddy?
We do. This is a rare league midweek match. The league's great about making sure you play on Saturday nights as often as possible to get the maximum attendance, knowing that we are as much kind of a festival atmosphere and a draw, but just to make the scheduling work, you got to play some midweek games from time to time, and this happens to be one of them.
Wow. So Hartford Athletics? Is that
Hartford Athletic.
Athletic.
Singular, yes.
Athletic supporters? No.
They can be.
They could change that up if they wanted to. I asked this question a little bit earlier. Goalies have worn hats in soccer before?
Goalies have worn hats in soccer in this building, and the reason why is that we are the rare east-west pitch. In other words, when the keeper, for those of you watching on the stream, as I point to the goal that would be towards downtown, is facing away from downtown, we kick at 7 or 7:30 on a Saturday night, that keeper is often looking straight into the sun.
Oh, wow,
so occasionally you will see a hat on a goalkeeper. Sometimes you will actually see protective headgear on a keeper or a field player, like if they have had like some sort of history of concussions or something along those lines. But
understand.
I think maybe twice in 10 years here I have seen a keeper wear a hat.
So in goal, if you ever have, maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 dudes, 4 or 5 people, whatever out there.
Yeah.
And do they play like half goal, like they play half court in basketball and soccer?
Well, we tend to formationally, have like 4-4-2, 3-4-3, 4-3-3, 4-5-1, 4-2-3-1 along that line. But you do kind of have to get up and down the entire field, so we have this thing called offside.
Right.
So you can't just have a guy cherry picking in the back saying, I'm open, and, send the ball down long. If they're 30 yards past the defense, this flag's going to come up and get in the way.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So no half court. I mean, you can't. Just to if you just want to mess around.
Frankly, the defenders kind of do that. Like, for example, the guys that play on the back row won't get, sometimes you'll see the backs kind of overlap and get around the opposite 18, but the 2 center backs rarely get farther than, say, the center circle of the field.
So where do you sit when you do the games, right now?
I am literally just down the hallway from you.
Okay.
So they put us on the same side as the cameras because they want to show the full stands, and knowing that the press box was built for track and field here 40 years ago and not for soccer, so it is put at the start-finish line of track and field.
That makes sense.
Which, as we would say back home, is a bit cattywampus. It isn't exactly kosher or aligned properly. So they put us on the same side as the cameras, which is awesome because given how much basketball I call, it's very similar to kind of how I feel like doing a college or a high school basketball game. I can hear players and coaches and officials yipping at each other, and it's something I'm used to.
All right, you get a matchup with Hartford tonight. Also a very special night here at the Mike, correct, too?
That would be Women in Sports Night, so we're going to recognize our W League team. Grace Barr will join us at halftime. But again, this is all building up to once we get to a couple of weeks from now, the summer of soccer. And I mentioned the fact that the league's pretty good about trying to play most of your matches on Saturday, just the way it worked out for us this year. We're going to play a lot of Saturday night matches at home. So June 14th, June 21st, June 28th, July 5th, we take a week off, July 19th, July 26th, August 2nd, we are back here as well. So simply put, most Saturday nights, you should be at the match and then listening to the JMV takeover.
Exactly, on the way home.
I mean, have we thought about using one of your remotes, because I know they cost a pretty penny, thought about bringing you out here for actually doing the JMV takeover from here instead of this here show?
You're the first one to bring it up, and Joe and I talked about it in the Coke lot, which went fantastically on Saturday night. Absolutely
Doug said he rolled by about 11 o'clock on Saturday night.
He did, and we shotgunned some beers together there. And it was the first time I've not seen him in a suit. He had a hoodie on. I've never.
He told me that he may have gotten an hour of sleep.
No, I'm sure.
Which I think was an hour more than you got going into the show with Tony.
Well, I propped you up yesterday because I know you also enjoy working with a group that we work with. Another incredible effort. Cam's over there, and he and the engineering department did a great job. It's always awesome to look back on the weekend that was the Indy 500 because so much is going on. What stands out to you? Is it Palou and his dominance continuing, or is it the controversy and the punishment and the still punishment handed out even after the race that stands the test of time to you as far as the thought's concerned?
I think it's Palou because he won. If Erickson had won, then obviously we're having a different conversation. But knowing that Palou is off to the best start in the season, probably since AJ in 79, but that really, some of the best seasons we're talking about here would be like AJ in 64. He won 10 of 13 events. Or Big Al, and I forget if it was 70 or 71 because he won the 500 in both years. One of those years he won 10 times as well. Little Al, when he won the 500 nearly by a lap in 94, he won 8 events that year. And you'll notice all of these, years that I'm citing are the years in which, used to have different engines, different chassis, and sometimes you can just hit on it technically, or as long as the driver didn't screw it up, you're going to win a bunch of races. That is not the case now. Everybody's supposed to have the same stuff. And he's finished first 5 times and second the other time. Everything in IndyCar is designed for that not to happen. And he has a 115-point lead. So I understand some people are going to talk about the tech fails, and rightfully so. I'm not saying you shouldn't. But what Palou is doing and the way you hear the other drivers talk about him, that to me is the storyline coming out of Max.
Is there an argument or a debate at all to be had to if Marcus Ericsson would have won, would they have still, you think, failed the cars after the race as they did? Because I maintain they would, because now you have to.
Yep.
Now you can't, overlook anything whatsoever.
I would think so too. And history has shown, albeit 44 years ago, we went through that process with Bobby Unser and Mario Andretti when Bobby won his third and Mario didn't win his second. But yes, when you drop the hammer in quals and you're going to do it to one of his teammates, meaning Ericsson and Kyle Kirkwood, if somebody goes back and inspects that car and says, hey, wait a minute, this car, and you start to play favorites, then you were in a world of blank. So, yes, I think they would have as well.
Greg Rakestraw is with us. The Indy 11 in Hartford later on tonight at Carroll Stadium. Time to get over here and check it out. So, last night, game number 4 at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Pacers win 3-1, game 5 tomorrow. Madison Square Garden with the Pacers the opportunity to go to the NBA Finals for the first time in 25 years. So, tell me this. In the house, you had Jelly Roll, 50 Cent, and John Mellencamp. Of the 3, whom would you listen to first?
I have probably listened to, probably in descending order of their age. Growing up in Southern Indiana, I obviously listened to Mellencamp. Literally, one of John's high school classmates at Seymour lived down the street from me in Lanesville. So right as John kind of blew up, like 82, 83, he came to Lanesville to hide for like 5 or 6 days.
Yeah.
So, you would go Mellencamp, 50 Cent,
right,
and then Jelly Roll. But it appears that of any of the non-Indianapolis-based celebrities, the scouting report is that Jelly Roll did more cheering for the Pacers than anybody else.
He did, yeah.
Well, since I resemble Jelly Roll, I think Jelly Roll's my guy, I think.
Well, it's funny because I saw Hud Mellencamp at the game with his dad last night, and Hud Mellencamp was in our camper, our Bronze Fun Time camper, after we signed off on Saturday night, which you can make an argument whether the party happened prior to midnight or after midnight. And you can ask Dev the engineer because Dev can cite hanging out with Hud Mellencamp because I think Dev had the most fun out of anybody.
The Mellencamp's been known to have a good time.
They have. Hud and Speck have a good time. I think Hud has himself a good time for real right there. But, yeah, all 3 of those. I thought last night, I thought the Fieldhouse was great. As much of the energy concern that people had on Sunday, that was not evident last night. From start to finish, that place was fired up.
I think given the fact now that the Pacers are 0 for 4, when it's race day and a Pacers playoff game, perhaps we should just ask for the lead. In those years we make the Eastern Conference Finals, go, hey, could you do us a solid and just play this on Saturday and Monday? Help in it. And how you couch it is for the interest of public safety. We got to have police at the IMS. We got to have police at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. We don't want to tax our resources too much, John. That's the way you approach the league office.
That is Greg Rakestraw with us. So what time does everything get underway here tonight?
We go on at 7 o'clock. You can watch it on Which TV tonight. And for those of you that are of the streaming variety, ESPN+. So you can see every Indy 11 match on ESPN Plus, a handful go to CBS Sports or CBS Sports Galazo. But when we, the Indy 11, are the home team, it is me, along with Brad Ring this evening, or Dan Capsalis when Dan's doing the matches with me, that you will hear and see online. So Wish TV and ESPN Plus, 7 o'clock. But more importantly, rain has stopped. It is going to be a lovely evening. We would love to see you get down here and join us at the mic for a 7 o'clock kickoff.
If the Pacers were to punch that ticket and go to their first NBA Finals since 2000, what stands out to you about what you were doing the last time the Pacers had an NBA Finals game?
Well, didn't you and I kind of work about a 12-hour block of time at WNDE at that time?
Yeah,
I was doing 6 to 10, and you would come in like right after me.
Exactly, yeah.
And
it was very early stages at NDE.
I was not producing the afternoon drive show at that time, but I did in the '98 conference finals against the Bulls, and did the next year in against the Knicks. So, yeah, I don't remember like where
I had Bragg and Benner. That was Bragg and Benner in the afternoon.
I don't remember where I was during any of the Pacers finals games. I was not in the building for it. I do remember the bar I was at watching when they beat the Knicks in Game 6. I was at Griffin's Pub. On what would be Emerson and Stop 11.
Emerson and Stop 11. No.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So I vividly remember, which didn't have that much to drink, watching that game on the South Side.
Greg Rakestraw's with us. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
Kids out of school?
Kids are out of school and loving life.
Well done, buddy. Greg Rakestraw, the Indy 11 later on tonight. Wish TV is where you can check that out this evening. And ESPN Plus as well with Greg and the Indy 11. The Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the day with 50-50 betting and dining from Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. That is on deck. And Joe Gentry to close on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
With JMV.
Nick, give him your wallet.
What for?
He's got a knife.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, the Harris Hoosier Park race of the day. Michael Ross is your winner. The winning horse, Madam X, paid $14.80 on a $2 bet. The $2 exacta payout was $89.60. 50-cent trifecta went for $64.50. Standardbred horse racing going on now through November at Harris Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson, the race of the day. Also, with our friends from AAA inside the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, you have an exclusive member giveaway. You can enter to win an IndyCar 2-seater ride experience. Experience what Tom Brady did this past weekend for the 109th running of the Indy 500, plus so much more. Go to AAA.com to enter today. Telling you, you're going to love it. AAA Hoosier IndyCar 2-seater experience. AAA.com to find out more today, and I'm going to have more for you as well. The AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, rejoined now by Joe Gentry, who runs things here communication-wise for the Indy 11. You got a big night coming up, don't you, buddy?
We're excited. The cannon has not been fired, but the gates will be open at 6 o'clock,
Gotcha.
so we'd love to see you down here. Got the fun zone operating at 6.
Where's the cannon, by the way?
Well, I can't tell you that. Your listers, I can't.
Is it like William Conrad out there? That's Cannon, right? There's a Cannon.
Yeah, I know that Cannon.
Thank you very much. Yeah. He was, I always thought, man, if he has to like break off into a run, this guy's not going to make it back in the day.
He probably wouldn't make it up to the press box
There's
there
zero
at Carroll
way.
Stadium that Greg was alluding to.
Even at his healthiest point, William Conrad would not have been able to make it up there, I doubt.
Yep.
So also known as Jake and the Fat Man, if you remember back in the day. What else we got working tonight, Joe?
Yeah, so it's good. This is our team back home after 25 days. We're excited about that. Our best players named Elvis has scored 8 goals his last 7 games. So
is he named after Presley or Gerbach?
Well, I'll have to check. I don't know in Ghana how they do that.
Okay, that may be.
But this could work into your takeover at one of our summer of soccer matches.
It could, yeah. Hunka.
Everybody loves Elvis, right?
Yes, it does. So if you were calling up a JMV takeover, and by the way, Joe is trying to put together an experience for the JMV Takeover live event out here, correct?
Absolutely. And so, starting the summer of soccer would be perfect. We'll have a good night like tonight where somebody like me would not get burnt with the sun with overcast here. But Saturday nights are rocking at Carroll Stadium. We'd love to have you. It'd be really, really cool.
What would you be requesting if not for Elvis from Ghana on your team? What would you be?
Boy, that's tough. Maybe a little Billy Joel.
Yeah, Billy Joel's going through some stuff right now, too. But what era? Not the 80s, but the 70s, Joel? What do you
I would
think
say late 70s, early 80s.
My favorite Billy Joel song may surprise people out there. My favorite Billy Joel song is Big Shot. I think it starts out great. It ends great. It goes kind of quick, about 3:16. So it's a good rockin' Billy Joel song.
Do you see yourself in that song?
Yeah, Big Shot, yeah. I mean, all impressed in my Halston dress. Yeah, exactly. No, seriously, that's my favorite Billy Joel song. What's yours?
Only the Good Die Young, JMV.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Clearly.
Is that 50? That's Glass Houses, only, right?
I was thinking 52nd Street.
It might be 52nd.
That was a long time ago, though.
Good call right there. So who is in charge of the music here at Carroll Stadium?
We've had different people do that, so that would be another cool thing. Would be after you do the takeover here, we save that, we roll that, in case you have a weather delay or some of the things that happen.
We have done it for the 4th of July before, as John Griffin, if he were here and not have to step outside to take a call, would tell you right here. So, yeah, go ahead and put something together.
We got July 5th, fireworks, drone show coming. That could be a really good night.
Yep. And as you mentioned, it is turning partly sunny. So it is going to be an exceptional night to be out here at the mic for some Indy 11 soccer this evening.
I was honored to be called your meteorologist with Lindsey Monroe and Chuck Lofton and all the distinguished weathercasts you have.
Shout out to Lindsey. We love Lindsey. Hasn't been out in a minute, so
we need to see her. Maybe for the takeover.
Well, she is great at sports conversation too. Gina Where was Gina? Gina was with us on Sunday, in fact. She came up. We were doing the pre-race show, and Gina came up there for a little bit, too, working at Wish TV Channel 8, where you can watch later on tonight.
See Greg Rakestraw.
Indy 11 and Greg Rakestraw doing that. So, no, fantastic, too. And what time are you guys officially underway?
6 o'clock is the gates open, and we're going to kick off at 7:06.
7:06.
Exactly.
How long do these normally go for those that may not?
2 hours-ish. We don't play overtime in the regular season, so
Right.
U.S. Open Cup, we played a couple double overtime matches. So
probably takes a little bit longer at times, too. And is this going to be like the first evening where rain hasn't played a role? Because I think you've had a lot of evenings
you know
where
what?
rain has been
True
here, right?
story. The only other time we didn't have rain was when you were here
There
on
it
April
is.
16th.
See? A little bit of sunshine I'm going to add to Carroll Stadium and bring that on. See, I came, and now the clouds are clearing, and the sun is going to come out. But, man, thanks for having us, as you always do. Anytime, get with John Griffin about the JMV takeover, and we'll see what we can do.
We'd love it. Appreciate it.
Good friend
Good to
Joe
see ya.
Gentry right there. Thank you very much for the Indy 11 for having us today. I believe for the next 2 days, this is going to be a little bit odd. I am back in studio unless, and I saw him last night, Matt Sleater owes us a live show at Parks Place Pub in Fishers. So if you know Matt, remind Matt that he owes us coming out and having a live show at Parks Place Pub in Fishers. I saw him last night from a distance, too. Man, it was an energized building, to say the least. And then the Pacers on the road for the opportunity to return to the NBA Finals for the first time since 2000. 25 years. Game 5 tomorrow night. You do have another Game 5 later on tonight as Minnesota tries to stay alive. The Timberwolves and the Thunder. 8:30 tonight, coming at you from OKC. Tomorrow night, that's an 8 o'clock tip from Madison Square Garden. Pacers and the Knicks. Your coverage begins right here at 7:30. Cam, great job. My brother Cam is here, too. Thanks to John. Thanks to Joe. Thanks to Greg Rakestraw for being a part of it. Eddie Gill, the Pacers Television Network. Check that, television and radio network. The former NBA guard. Kevin Bowen also joined us a little bit earlier. Podcasts everywhere. Back in studio coming up tomorrow as we maintain the enthusiasm for this blue and gold squad. Don't lose it, man. It continues. More angles on it coming up tomorrow. Have a great night. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Thanks for listening.